So, like I said, I've been playing World of Warcraft Dragonflight for a couple weeks now. And how do I feel about it? Is it any good? Is if you're just interested in playing as a casual, is it any good for you? What should you keep in mind if you are interested in this content and other things, right? So I'll try to answer those questions. So first off, was it any good? I would say overall, Dragonflight was a good expansion. Let me break that down to why I think that was a good expansion. First off, I prefer leveling it via questing, not so much spamming dungeons. So as far as the questing goes, I enjoyed the questing. I enjoyed the storyline. Helping the Dragonflights regain their seats of power, and then bring them all together and fighting the common evil. That whole theme was actually really fun. And the individual storylines relating to each of the Dragonflight, I mean, you want to call them a clutch or clan or whatever, right? Those individual stories were actually pretty good. Key standouts for me was the Blue Dragonflight. I think that was with Sindragosa and them at the end. The Black Dragonflight was kind of cool because I kind of like Rathian, to be honest. So yeah, the individual Dragonflights was really fun. Playing to them and getting their seats of power back. The like the little faction side quests weren't as interesting, but I wouldn't consider them bad, to be honest. They just were not like as interesting as the individual Dragonflights themselves. It's good. So overall, the questing was really good. The quest objectives were not very grindy either. So looking back on like BFA and Shadowlands, a lot of the stuff would be like, kill this number of this thing, kill this number of that thing. And it ends up being like an hour and a half of just grinding these annoying mobs. Dragonflight's quest objectives did not feel like that. So it didn't feel as grindy, at least as far as any other MMO quests are concerned. Next would be overall graphics and things like that, right? So graphics are good. It's the modern WoW, so I think it looks pretty good. It's got its unique style that looks good. Graphics are considerably better. The cutscenes are really well executed, minus the way, I guess, the direction and the way the story is in the cutscenes. Like, the enemies in the cutscenes did not really evoke any kind of them being an actual threat. I understood they were a threat, but they were very, very cookie cutter. And I would not classify them as particularly interesting bad guys, but I still wouldn't consider it bad. I just consider it okay. Like the enemies are very cookie cutter. The whole power of friendship shenanigans going on. It's pretty lame, in my opinion. The story still I wouldn't consider be bad. It's just it had its moments of lameness, but for a majority of the time it was actually pretty decent. So now when it comes to fighting and gearing and leveling. All right, so we'll start with the Dragonflight content, moving on to the endgame content. So leveling in Dragonflight is pretty straightforward. Relatively quick. You can burn through the zones. The first zone that you start in is kind of drags out towards the end. But once you get out of there, you get into the plains and then the mountainous forests and then the ice flow areas. Those start to speed up really quickly, and it feels like that you're sitting in the same spot for a long period of time. Also, while you're leveling through the zones, leveling goes actually pretty quickly. I think I hit level 70 about halfway through the Dragonflight content. I like hitting 70 relatively quickly. And then the rewards from the side from the questing experience was actually pretty good too. So by the time you finish leveling and questing through all the content, you end at like 420 item level or 415 item level, which is really good. You are well set up just from questing alone to start doing endgame raid content, which is nice. It's really nice. So yeah, leveling was quick, and the gear rewards through questing was very good. They set you up for success. Now endgame content. So I didn't do any mythic raids. I didn't do any mythic plus, and I only did a couple of dungeons, and I mainly just did LFG raids, right? Because I didn't have a lot of time. And I wanted to approach this more from a casual aspect where you don't have the time to do major raid meetings for doing mythic and heroic runs with your guild or anything like that. Like I just ran weekly quests and did LFG rating for gear. And in the course 4 weeks, I was able to hit item level 450, which is pretty good, pretty good. And level up most of my gear to 4 out of 8, which is 50% of leveling, which is neat. Which, by the way, is a really neat mechanic for your higher level gear in Dragonflight, is that you can slowly upgrade it, increasing its item level and its stat increases. So leveling and gearing was really good. The raids are actually pretty fun. Now I know there's some complaints about Sulfuron. He's one of the raid bosses. Like I said, I did mainly LFG, so the raids are going to be a good bit easier than if you're doing Mythic or Heroic, obviously. And also, the people that tend to run those are just running them for quick clears to fill out their slots for weekly gear rewards, right? For their weekly chest. Speaking of which, my weekly chest rewards were good about half the time. The other half of the time, they're giving me nothing but trinkets. I already have my 450 trinkets. I am good on trinkets, and I keep getting trinkets, which is annoying. The only piece I'm missing from my full set is my head. I can't get it to drop off the raid bosses, and I'm not getting the drop for the item that that you can craft a headpiece out of. So I haven't been too lucky on the item drop situation. So being that I haven't been very lucky on the item drops, there is another mechanic which I find extremely useful for gearing in Dragonflight, and it is this forge thing. It's close to Valdrakken. It's like northwest of Valdrakken, up on a hill. You can Google it. It's pretty easy. Just fly up there, and it uses a currency, right? I think you start with 8, and then every 2 weeks you get another 1, right? And it's like, I think it's account wide. And what you can do is you can convert any veteran piece of gear into a tier set piece. When I found that out, it blew my mind. So I was like, okay, so now I don't have to farm as hard for tier sets. I would consider that a very, very good player-friendly, casual-friendly mechanic. You go to this forge and you can convert them into tier sets, which is freaking sweet. So I really do like that. So I really like the leveling and gearing system. It's very, very casual friendly, which, appeals to me, being filthy casual, right? So now looking at new player experience, right? So 2 things. I leveled an alt character all the way up to Dragonflight, but not in Dragonflight. So like level 61 or 62, something like that. I did it through the time walking leveling BFA content. And then also my wife started a character from scratch on a brand new account. She's playing that. She's level 67 now, almost 68. And she's about 2/3 of the way through Dragonflight, which is really cool. She's really been having fun. So how is the leveling experience? Well, as an experienced player, at least relatively experienced, I'd consider myself decent. The alt leveling experience is very quick, especially if you got heirlooms. If you don't have heirlooms, it's pretty slow, but not that slow. You can expect to level an alt very quickly. Now, as for gearing and everything, those systems that I mentioned earlier, which are very casual friendly, are also alt friendly as far as gearing goes. Is that professions are essentially useless. There is no reason to have a profession. So there is almost no reason to have an alt unless you want to try different quest lines, different classes, different abilities, that sort of thing. Which, by the way, is a lot of fun. Like you see here, I'm playing warlocks. Most of my content has been playing as a warlock, and I am a traditional warrior player. It's really been fun learning how to play warrior on the different versions of WoW. Brand new player, has never played an MMO before. This is new, everything for them. It's not easy. So the leveling will level you quickly up until you get to the point where you can access Dragonflight content. Some of the instructions while leveling, some of the teaching mechanics, the intros, the tutorials, some of them are really well outlined and easy to understand. The problem is they're so base that when a new player comes to full content, they are severely lacking in the skills that they need to succeed in that content. So you can get the leveling. You don't understand fully the menus, the abilities, how to find everything, how to set everything up. And the tutorials don't give you the resources so that you can go find that on your own. Luckily for my wife, I've been there to help her out, teach her a couple of tricks, teach her how to better use the UI, how to find things in the UI, how to experience the content in a more streamlined fashion. And so that's improved her player experience considerably. You can learn the basics of the gameplay, but it will not be a good experience for you unless you learn how to be efficient at that gameplay, which the tutorials do not show. As far as leveling and gearing goes, leveling is quick, gearing is not. My wife reached a point where she was way under geared, but at the right level for content she was trying to accomplish. And nowhere in the tutorials or leveling zones did it explain how the gearing worked. So she had no understanding about how gearing worked. How cleaning her bags worked is what she learned about bags and selling items is very base. I mean, she is halfway through Dragonflight, right? She's like 2/3 of the way, halfway through Dragonflight, and she doesn't even know about the auction house. So there's considerable things that are missing from the tutorial for new players. So gearing for new players is not fantastic. Leveling is perfectly fine. The quests are fun. Quests are fun. As a new player, she's enjoyed every single quest line that she's done. As far as Dragonflight content, now that she is in Dragonflight content, how does she like it and how is she enjoying it? She says it's her favorite part of WoW so far. So that says something, right? So she loves Dragonflight, likes it better because she played BFA portion, then she went to Shadowlands, did like I want to say she did like 20% of Shadowlands and enjoyed Shadowlands more than the BFA content. And then now she's in Dragonflight, she loves Dragonflight. So for a new player enjoying Dragonflight, I totally get it. Totally understand it. It's a lot of fun. Well, she hasn't finished yet, so she hasn't gotten to a raiding or dungeons or anything like that. Once she starts doing that, she's gonna really like it. But the problem is she is not very good at the game. Right? She's a new player. Like I said, like there are a lot of things that the tutorial misses when it tries to teach you things, and she's already found people recognizing her name and booting her from dungeons because she's bad. So that is a problem. Luckily enough, though, they instituted the follower dungeon system. Now, even I like the follower dungeon system because I don't have to wait on queuing with an actual group of players. I can just fire it up, ready to go, followers, run, and then I can charge through a dungeon and knock it out real quick. It is a really good system. So it makes up for, like, in her case, her getting kicked from dungeons at the very start because they recognize her as being a new/bad player. I mean, it's only happened like a couple times. So overall, her raiding experience has been purely with dungeons, and it's been fun, but there has been some negatives for a new player, and that's more of a community problem, not really a game problem. So how would she rate it? She likes it. She plays it every day now. So even with the bad stuff, she loves playing it more than she doesn't love playing it. As for me, how do I like Dragonflight? Well, now that I'm at the end game, not too bad as far as grinding goes. Like I could just spend a day, like one day, one afternoon, and I could knock out all of my my weeklies, which is nice. I could hop in for like maybe 2-3 hours. I knock out all my weeklies in like 2 or 3 hours, and then I call it a week, right? I go back to doing whatever else I'm doing around the house. Looking back at all the content, do I like it? Well, obviously at this point, I think it's kind of obvious at this point that I do like the content. Is it fulfilling? Does it feel fulfilling? Is it something that I enjoy hopping back into frequently? Yeah, I would say yeah. Not every day. Not at endgame. Endgame is not as interesting to me at this time for me to dedicate every single day to it. But it is entertaining enough that I do want to hop in at least weekly. Overall, I would say Dragonflight is very good. It's not, I would not call it the best expansion, but it is the best recent expansion, at least since Legion. I would personally say Legion is actually better than Dragonflight, but Dragonflight is considerably better than BFA or Shadowlands. The gameplay, it was entertaining enough to keep me interested. Still is, albeit in like 2 to 3 hour sessions, maybe a week. I wasn't very impressed with the storytelling, although I wouldn't consider the storytelling bad at all. And even for a new player, I think the experience is still actually kind of good. Kind of good even for a new player. And there's enough mechanics in there to help support them while they level and experience the game. I hope that helps you if you're deciding to play Dragonflight. And if you have any questions, comment below. Subscribe if you enjoy content like this. And follow us on Twitch if you want to catch some live streams. All right, until next time, have a good one.